I'd like to officially introduce, well, anybody that's just touching, tuning in. I don't know what's on my mind, Clarissa. So anybody that's just tuning in, welcome to the Mind, Body, and Soul Show with your host, Coach Steve Toad. I'm the founder of Conscious Evolution Media as well. And I'd like to officially then welcome our next guest, who is Clarissa Silva. And she's joining us from the Big Apple. And she is a scientist and a clinician and a mental health and behavioral science coach, as well as a relationship coach. And so, Clarissa, if I took all these titles away, and any other title that anybody has ever called you, what's left? Who is really Clarissa Silva?
I think that personality drives profession. So I think a lot of what I was by nature was a healer, someone that is very overprotective and very concerned about, society and human consciousness. So I think that I'm always moved by knowing that we individually and with each person we encounter, we have the ability to inspire that person, to ameliorate their lives, to make their lives better. So that's what really drives me. I'm driven by passion and fire to make the world a better place for people to live in. Sometimes I don't live in reality because I don't want to see the harshness of the world. So I create my own little bubble where it's this completely idealistic place. Everybody lives in abundance and opportunities all around them, but sometimes the reality is the opposite.
Yeah, fantastic. So is that the reason why you were drawn to create a blog, which is about relationships and about dating? Is that your way of getting this message out?
Absolutely. As somebody that practiced in mental health for over 15 years, I was always doing it and being fulfilled by doing it on an individual base or sometimes group level. And, my career, I focused on pandemics and infectious disease and psych and the intercorrelation of multiple...
Oh, now you're going to scare everybody away, and we have over 500 people watching us.
Sorry, you're right.
Let's make this light. Let's talk about dating, and let's talk about relationships. So, what do you mean by suboptimal relationships? What is one of those, and why do we have them? Okay,
so this is really interesting. It's just a big word just to say that I think a lot of times we don't realize the factors that drive us to be in unhealthy relationships. It's only after the fact that you realize that there were certain characteristics, there were certain flaws, there were certain things that you kind of let go in relationships just for the sake of being in a relationship. So I don't think that could be classified as healthy. I think at the end of the day...
So you mean compromise? Are you really saying compromising?
Because, I can't say compromising because some people are aware when they're compromising. I think it happens at a subconscious and unconscious level sometimes. I think the reality is that the number one person you lie to is yourself, right? Okay.
I'm trying to get you to smile. How am I going to get there?
By telling you to smile.
There you go. Because Clarissa is really not as serious as she might seem like. She's very professional, but I think if we take it a little bit lighter, like get down from that high professional step or stool one notch. Okay. I might want to say that she is from... Are you from Brazil?
I'm Brazilian American, yeah.
There you go. Isn't that hot, everybody? There you go. There's the smile. Okay, so
Right, you blush.
we're talking about suboptimal relationships,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So would you say that a very large percentage of the population are living in suboptimal relationships, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you look at divorce rates, if you look at domestic violence, if you look at, abuse, if you look at any of these things, I would have to say yes.
Yeah. And so we were just about getting around to having this dialogue about why is that? Why are so many relationships out there that are not healthy?
So I really think that there are a few things that we as people confuse about relationships. Part of the problem is that when we meet people, right, and you connect and you feel like sometimes it is rare that you have this connection. Sometimes you feel like it's a spiritual connection. Sometimes you feel like you're driven to this person, right? And that's a powerful feeling, right? Like to feel love and to feel belonging and to feel like you finally met somebody that understands you and relates to you is a powerful feeling, right? I think that's the first level in which most of us start to look at what does this person really mean in my life, right? Then we start to discount some of the other things that we might have needed for our own sense of happiness before we met that person.
Mm-hmm. What if I challenge you here, Clarissa? May I challenge you?
Sure, of course. Of course.
What if I say that when we fall in love, you were talking about this, right? When we fall in love, we're really falling in love with a version of ourselves.
Absolutely.
Not the other person. We think it's the other person, but it really isn't.
No, you are absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I believe that that's the first place that you get to challenge who you are, right? Is a relationship, because you're mirroring and you're admiring things more about yourself and you're seeing it manifested in another human being. So once you realize
and what if I said that was an illusion? It wasn't really real.
It absolutely is an illusion, isn't it? I mean, because...
Okay. And because, how do we know it's an illusion?
Because it's going to manifest itself in a
because we can't maintain it forever, right?
Absolutely.
In your experience, how long can you maintain it?
I've realized that it takes me about a full 3 months, to really assess what it is that is unnatural about it and what it is that I'm creating about the relationship. Because you know what women do and I do a lot? I start to look at all of the compatible elements that are really part of what I see in myself. And then I start wrapping my hopes and dreams around it. So, that's where you derail a lot, right? Because then you're dealing with somebody else's hopes and dreams. And if there's no compatibility with that, that's where relationships begin to dismantle.
Yeah, well, I want to respectfully suggest that for the first few months, whatever that is, it's different for different people. We all put our best foot forward, right? And we are in this illusion. And then what ends up happening is, because we can't maintain it, it's a wonderful time, by the way. I remember every time I created it. I don't want to have anything to do with the rest of the world. I just want to be with that person. And so because we can't maintain it, what's going to end up happening is we're going to start becoming more and more real in terms of how we are. And when that happens, we and the other person gets disappointed because now they see a part of us that they didn't see before, and they go, well, wait a minute. This is not what I signed up for. It's been going so well for all this time, and what the hell is that?
Exactly.
So, by the way, because we are being featured on Block TV, thank you, Block TV, and we are an interactive show, we have an interesting question by Sky Blue. Says, this is something we talked about just a few minutes ago. What if I hate myself? Do I hate her too?
Well, that's the interesting thing, right? Because you're not actually responding to the parts that you don't admire, right? I mean, that's what Steve is saying. Well, the parts that begin to manifest while you're in the relationship that you don't admire about yourself, that's where reality, that's where your subconscious and conscious starts to like play together. That's when it hits you.
Are you ready to really see who I am?
Right.
And can you handle it?
Exactly. And I'll tell you the primary thing about, like, love is an emotion, yes, but love is really an ability, right? So although you might think you're dissatisfied with circumstances around your life, you're not going to find someone to even project love onto if you don't already possess it. So the fact that you have the ability to love means that you will transfer that over to someone else. You know,
and that's good news. Isn't it? I also learned, Clarissa, I'm wondering if you have to, I also learned that after the relationship is over and I go through the part where it really hurts like hell.
Yeah.
The amount of hurt that I can stand
yes. Well, oh my God.
Equals the amount of love
yes.
I give and receive.
Yes. Yes.
So it's good news when people are really hurting like hell. That's not a bad thing, people.
Yeah. It's the other side of. It's the other range of love. It's realization, right? And seeing if there could, if you're really looking for love and you're really looking for this depth and fulfillment, you have to experience the full range, right? Hurt is part of it. It follows a life cycle. Everything follows a life cycle, So
what? Are you in a relationship now, Clarissa?
I am in a relationship right now, yes.
Okay, great. And how long has it been gone?
It's in its early phases. It's only been a couple of weeks right now.
So everything is really good?
Yeah, everything is like, the googly eyes and everything is like, yay, look at the world.
Okay, great. So let's switch to your blog. I checked it out, and it's really interesting. And you have people engaging with you there, and you're really sharing yourself and sharing all the issues with relationships. So tell our viewers a little bit about what you've learned, because in a way I feel that you're kind of running your relationship laboratory on that blog. So it's really there for a lot of people to learn a lot, including you. What have you noticed that was like, wow, this is really cool that I got this?
Well, let me begin by telling you that this was an idea that I had about 9 years ago. Partly out of the frustration in my own life, and partly out of the frustration of clients too. I feel frustration for them when they go through unnecessary hurt. You know what I mean? And the reason I created it was because I thought, I developed techniques over the last 15 years throughout my career, and when I piloted, tested it, and results were consistent time after time, I thought, how about I begin to break down the walls of the hospital, of a clinic, of a private practice office, and just have open source for anyone to just look at and say, you know what? Today, I'm feeling miserable about my relationship, and you come across my blog and say, here's some techniques that you should be looking at. The blog originally started off as a conversation with myself 9 years ago because I was in a relationship and it was going horribly wrong, but something compelled me to stay in it a little bit longer than what I did.
What was wrong? What was wrong about it?
Oh, we were completely incompatible. It was, where your conscious and your subconscious like finally face each other, and you wake up and you're like, I call it like you get sick of yourself. You reach a point where you just get sick of yourself, and you're just like, this is not going to be helpful to me. I can't imagine the rest of my life this way, and these are the things that I encounter. So I would always refer to myself as the dumbass in the relationship, right? And then sometimes when when men would do things, it's easy. You're the dumbass in this situation.
Okay, so we all familiar with the finger pointing, yeah? We all really good at it.
And it started with me,
right?
Though. I pointed the finger at me. I deconstructed myself. I dissected myself, and I started looking at how I could improve my techniques, and I tried different things on myself. I was always the first laboratory rat in all of this,
Yeah. So let's get back to that relationship that we were just talking about. If you're okay with that, do I have your permission?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So things were wrong with the relationship. Can you be a little bit more specific? Like, give me a closer description of what was wrong.
Sure. I think for me, it really boils, long-term compatibility really boils down to lifestyle factors and some goals that you have, right? Because I really believe in the idea of, marriage is about a life witness. It's about someone that is going to help actualize your dreams, and it's going to be better than what
but it's too general. I want to go deeper. Just say it. Just say it. What was wrong with it, from your point of view? What sucked?
What sucked was his immaturity level, and what sucked was he lacked a lot of ambition and drive, and and he was influenced by many other factors, like his family, his friends, things like this that kept him in a place that was not going to help him grow. And that's hard to be in a relationship with somebody that is highly ambitious, highly driven, and wants to see better versions of people emerge all the time. Eventually, I go crazy.
So what did he need to do to straighten up?
I think he needed to find another woman.
I'm glad you said that.
It's me.
And initially, what attracted you to him? What did you fall in love with?
Oh my God, I'm the biggest sucker, Steve. If you're really in hot pursuit with me, and if you're really showing me that, okay, because I'm the type of person that I never realize when someone's flirting with me, if someone's interested in me, you gotta shake me and tell me or else I won't. I don't pay attention to those little cues that are so glaring sometimes, right?
Okay.
So the dumbass in me only gets it when it's over the top, somebody's I'm really into you, and then reinforces it, pursues, and really shows that I'm meaningful, and it's more than just the standard all right, wow, I've encountered somebody that's rare like you, unique like you, you could say to any other human being. So I think I fell in love with the idea of the feelings that you get when somebody's really making an effort to get to know who you are, and really making a strong, aggressive effort to let you know that they want to be influenced by you, they want to be motivated, and then they realize long term that I don't change, and I'm this way all the time.
Well, he doesn't either. That's the That's the beauty of it all. I mean, yes, we can change,
Yeah.
but it's going to happen on our clock,
Yeah.
not on the other person's.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give to somebody that's just went through what you described? They fell in love with somebody. They fell in love with the fact that they did shake him up. They did tell him how attractive they were and how much they liked everything about them, and they wanted to be in relationship, and they wanted to go out with you every day, and they wanted to be around you and talk to you and do all those things that make you go crazy. And then 3 months goes by, and all of a sudden you're no longer in love with them. So what advice would you give somebody that just said that to you?
Okay. So one of the things that that I've realized, and I talk about on my blog, is I want everybody to look at their happiness hypothesis, is what I call it, or a happiness algorithm. I want people to understand what elements do you want and need. First determine that. First determine what the differences are for you. And then you have to locate what aspects are going to work for you long term, sorry. Because the short-term part of the emotional intensity, that has a limit, because eventually you have to go back into the real world. You have to start, you have to go back into your friendships, that little, the honeymoon phase, and it's all there. So you have to realize that the emotional part is what you deserve as a human being. You know what I mean? You want love because you like the feeling of it. But you can't get caught up in the rapture where you're not able to detect. So one of the little tools that you could do is look at the aspects of what you really want and need. Not just the emotional part. And I think that's harder for people because we react to the power and the intensity of it, because life is challenging, and when you have that feeling, you feel like you could conquer everything. You feel motivated to do things you never thought of doing, right?
I think even people will say, well, yeah, he's falling off this emotional, trip that we've been on for the last several months, and I can see some of the things that are wrong with him or her, and I know I can change it.
Well, the reason that it's important to define the wants and needs is because you're going to realize that it can't be changed, because it's not the other person, it's really you. What you want for yourself, right? What you demand for yourself, that's not going to change. And you're not going to cultivate that in somebody else. You know what I mean?
So the reason why these mishaps are happening is because we weren't clear, what you're saying, I believe. We weren't clear from the beginning what we needed and what we wanted.
Exactly.
We had no idea, so we would fall for anything.
And that's why divorce rates are what they are. Yes.
As long as they tell us what we want to hear, we're game.
We're golden. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go down the aisle. Come on, 1, 2, 3, go.
Wow, that's fantastic. Okay, so now we're being value and we're serving our viewers. All right, so it's too bad that the show is almost over. Oh my God, it's amazing. All right, so that's very interesting. So what would you also say? Because I also feel that a lot of people have this hole within themselves. Like what they're looking for in a partner is to feel the hole.
Yeah.
How would you describe it any differently than the way I'm describing it?
No, absolutely not. I mean, the only analogy that I usually use is, okay, you could fill the void in any way, right? Some people use alcohol, some people use drugs, some people use work to fill these voids, right?
Yes.
When
the
you
black holes.
Right. So when you become more conscious of, this is not simply a bottle or, cocaine. It is a human being that is going to be reacting to what you're trying to complete yourself by, and in avoiding a lot of things about yourself, you'll get some kind of understanding about how you will continue to live in a void, right? Because if you use human beings to work through voids, you never have approached eliminating that void, right? All you did was, okay, sure, you had sex, that filled the void. Sure, you got to feel this pseudo level of love, right? Because all you did was avoid an aspect of your life that you have to eventually address, right? I mean,
yeah, because people want to feel good, and people
absolutely.
will do whatever they have to do to make them feel good,
exactly,
even at the expense
of another human being, and
to getting addicted to things, including to other human beings.
Oh, human beings are the biggest drug. Sure, sure.
All right, so awesome. So since we're coming to the end of the show, I just want to give you the opportunity to talk a little bit about your website.
Sure.
It's a great blog. And any other way that you would want our viewers to contact you.
Sure. So the blog is a very tongue-in-cheek, approach to relationships and dating. It's called "You're Just a Dumbass," but that's the irony of what information and content is really on there. I really do share techniques that try to work on empowering and enhancing self-esteem for people reading it. So it's currently I'm piloting.
It shocked me. The title shocked me, by the way.
It shocked a lot of people. And it's designed to shock people.
Yeah.
I want people to say, you know what, she's right, I am a dumbass. I need to find somebody else. I really want people to say that. And a new project that I'm piloting, while I'm also piloting the chapters of a book on the blog, I also created a mixed method dating system, and it's called Play Ideal Date. And it's going to be using the Google Plus interface, and I'm going to create a modernized version of the dating game. And I'm hoping that I could really get to people that have busy lifestyles, that don't have time to read out thousands of profiles on online dating sites, and want to do a much more efficient process of I screen them, I developed an algorithm, and I do it in a playful way so that people could find a date. So I joke around, you want to find a date in an hour? Come play Ideal Date dating game.
Okay, great. And you did give us the URL, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. It is playidealdate.wordpress.com, and the blog, the relationship blog, is You're Just a Dumbass _ You're Just a Dumbass at .wordpress.com. Okay,
awesome. So I want to take one last question real quick, and then we really have to close out the show because it's a really good question.
Okay.
So, Annecy, I hope I said that right, Blog TV says, since there is death, what meaning does my life have? What a deep question.
Wow, yeah.
I say whatever meaning you want to give it.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I think that we look at death in a very different way, right? We look at death as a terminal thing. But really we should be looking at death as a constant part of a life cycle. Each time
We're just being reborn.
Yeah, right. Each time you go through something and you overcome it, that was the death of your former self. So you're constantly dealing with death and rebirth throughout life and each encounter that you have. So I think that death is a natural process that occurs in all things, so that it could be reborn in some other form. And even when your physical body is gone, you still will have metaphysical vibration. You still do have. It still does have another level of a cycle.
Yeah, fantastic, Clarissa. All right, so our time is up. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for being on the network, Clarissa. I